Welcome back to Planting Life Matters. I am going to give you an almost sundown tour of the front flower bed because all of the bulbs, my spring bulbs that I planted this past November, are finally coming through. It's really late here in Zone 7, Dallas, Texas. It's about, right before sundown, so I wanted to show you some of the daffodils that are coming up. This is an absolutely gorgeous color. I do not remember the name. I'll try to find the name and pop it up on the screen. But that is just so splendid. And I picked that color for this flower bed up here because I have daylilies that have this peach color daylily that's coming out, and I really love it. Now, obviously, these will not be around by the time my daylilies bloom, but it just reminded me of that. This house plant I'm actually getting ready to split up. It's just sitting there. I bought it because there are 2 stalks in it. A little tip for you: always buy a plant that has at least 1 or 2, because you can take that out of the pot, take a saw and cut it in half, and you have 2 plants. And some of these house plants are just fine outdoors as well. I have actually put them in pots in the garden and tucked them into areas. So that's what I'm planning to do, is actually going in the back near a water feature. So a couple of things going on up here. I planted some heuchera. I have some of the big leaf begonias. If you've never planted a big leaf begonia before, they get humongous. One plant will fill in all of this space where you won't see any. At least I hope so. I've grown them in pots. I have not grown them in the ground. So in pots, they are huge. They will get as wide as this actual fern. I had 2 last year and they were huge. So big leaf begonia. There is the lighter color green leaf, and then there's also a darker bronze leaf, which can take a little more sun. So the darker the leaf, the more sun that it can actually handle. And so I have some ferns that I planted in the ground. Those are perennial ferns that should come back. Things are still waking up. A lot of things are still asleep, but coming through. All of my hostas that are in the ground have not come through yet, but I can see them peeping through. The ones in the pot, some of them, depending on the variety, like there's a hosta that's coming through, and I see some in there. And I should have probably dug this hosta up. I said this last year. There was one that I had that was about 2.5 feet wide, 3 feet wide and tall in this one area, but it started to shrink. And I found out that hostas actually can shrink over a period of time if the soil is not amended and it's too hard. And I did put some new soil in this year, and I tried to amend the soil and make it a little bit better. So I didn't dig up the hosta though and split it in half. You probably should split them in half every 3 or 4 years, maybe not even that long, probably 3 years. One of my favorite plants this year is the Mystic Blue Spires Salvia. OMG. That's all I can say. Look at this. It speaks for itself. I think I have bought about 8 of them so far. It is a perennial. In this one area here, I get a lot of sun, and then the rest of the bed is shaded because I have a huge tree that kind of overlooks this area. So I do get sun here. And I popped in a foxtail fern. Those do not make it as shrubs, even though they are sold as shrubs. Let me go back. Let me rephrase that. If we have a really, really cold winter, and I'm talking like we did in 2021, if you're from Texas, you know what I mean. We lost a lot of shrubs. We hit some 9-degree temperatures, and quite a few things died off. I had a huge foxtail fern that had been in a really large concrete pot for several years, and I lost it, and I planted probably about 10 of them last year, and every one of those died this year too. And as soon as we got below 30 plus degrees, they just don't make it, even though they're listed as shrubs here. Be aware, if you're in Zone 8A, Dallas, Texas, they may or may not make it, but they are so gorgeous, I buy them every year anyway. So here's one, for example, that was about 3 feet tall. Maybe not quite that tall, maybe about 2 feet tall, but it was really huge and beautiful. So I haven't pulled it yet because sometimes you just want to keep hope alive. But I'm gonna pull it out. Sometimes I do leave things as what I call a placeholder until I decide what I want to put there. But again, more of the mystic blue spears. I have a climbing red rose. Ooh, and I see it's budding up already too. Okay, that's cool. Eventually, I'm going to clear this whole area out. I am still working on the design and the idea of what's going to happen here. I think it's going to be a gated arch that I'm going to grow climbing roses over. That leads to my gate. And I'm going to ask my neighbor if she minds if I just take over the entire area, and I'll work her side too. Because no matter what I do on my side, if the other side is not looking okay, it just kind of defeats the purpose. So that's the plan. And the Everillo Carex, they are considered evergreen, but as you can see, they look really kind of yucky from the winter, but all that will die off, and these will come back with that beautiful chartreuse color a little bit later. Oh, and I did put in a bunch of the bronze big leaf begonias here. I've also added just a handful. I don't want to go too crazy with annuals. I'm trying not to do too many annuals this year. My focus has been on perennials and shrubs and trees so far for the last month, I would say. So far, I think I have planted about, wow, 10, 20 shrubs in the back garden. I picked up 3 more trees, blue spruce junipers yesterday, and let's see, I got 2 magnolia trees. So I've been going tree crazy and perennial crazy here. And the goal, obvious, is to get to a point where I'm not having to plant so much every single year, and have some things come back. Obviously, you're gonna always have to change out some stuff. Some things make it, some don't. But I just wanted to come on real quick and show you how beautiful the daylilies, oh, I just went blank. I said it earlier. You got me. I'm tired. Y'all, I have been in the back garden, I kid you not, for about 8 hours now straight. I am beat. But, you know, it's a fun beat. So that popped up. Oh, and let me show you too. They're starting to fade out. So I think these were called crocus. And they're really tiny, but I got the miniature kind. They're starting to fade out. I see some things that are coming back. Some geraniums are coming back, and I didn't expect that. And yeah, so that's it. But real quick, you see out here, they're all fading away now, but those were the rest of the tulip bulbs. They were so pretty, and they're starting to spin out and peter out now, not looking so hot. And the same thing on this side. But it's so odd because I still have a ton that have not come through. And I've never grown tulips before. This is my first time. So I see, oh gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20 maybe, that haven't even come through just yet. Oh, look at this color. Oh my God. I forgot what I did was I planted the ones that come in early and the ones that come in late. Look at that tulip there. Oh, beautiful. Now it's funny how this is faded. This was a big bold red. So for example, all of them were this color. How deep red that is. But I see that they're now fading out and they look almost pink-like. So all of them are not done, but that's good. So I see stuff that's coming in still, and what a beautiful color that's coming through. And I see some of the other things that I put in late in the year, and I'm sorry, I don't remember some names right now because I planted these late in the season, but these are succulents, and they turn a beautiful reddish color towards the end of the year too. So daffodils, that's the word. So all the daffodils on the side of the house, they were a really beautiful showing earlier in the season, but they're starting to peter out. You can see once, here's the, get up close to one of the yellows here. That's very pretty. But then they start to look like that. So they fall off, they die off. But you cannot, by the way, if you've never grown daffodils before, and I've had daffodils for some years, you cannot cut them back just yet. You have to let them sit there without the blooms on them, and then wait for the leaves to fade into their ugly yellow and start to die off. and then you cut it back. Do not cut it when it's still green, because it needs to regenerate and feed that bulb below by having the sun come through photosynthesis, hits those green leaves, and that's how it builds the strength for the bulb for next year. So that's why you leave them. And if you're driving up and down the street and you're always wondering, why do they have all those just poking up out of the ground? It's not the prettiest afterwards, but it serves a purpose. So same thing with the tulips. I'm gonna let them die back naturally as well. I don't know if the tulips will come back. In most zones, they are perennials, they're supposed to be, but you have to have a cold enough climate for tulips to be able to survive and come back the following year. I might get lucky, we'll see. It's so weird here in Texas, you just never know. But that's it, guys. I wanted to check in real quick and show off my gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous flowers, my bulbs that I put in that are still coming through. And I got a couple of hanging baskets that I've done already. I think I did, oh yeah, I have a bit of coleus, the bronze leaf. Let's see what's in there. Begonia, the big leaf begonia, and some creeping jenny. And so can't wait to see how that does. I'm not really great with baskets, especially when they have the hay material, those dry out really, really fast. But here's a tip. I put diapers in the bottom of mine to help retain the moisture. So have a few other things that I've picked up that I'm going to be potting up, and I will check back in with you guys real soon. This is just the beginning. We're just kicking off. Like I said, I have a ton of things that I've been working on in the back garden that I can't wait to show you guys. But hang around. Thank you. Hit subscribe and check back with me. Thank you for watching.